can't leave your business for a week and the whole thing crashes, then you have some serious things you should figure out inside of your business.
That's Neil. One of his clients' businesses sold for $9 million after 5 years. Stay with this one. By the end, you know the real test for whether your business could actually run without you and what almost automated means in practice. So Neil, you've spent nearly 2 decades building and operating e-commerce brands with a clear focus on building to exit. So when founders say, I want a business that runs without me, what do they usually misunderstand?
What they usually understand is the level of engagement they're going to have to continue that process forward. Even though certain components of it can be automated and replaced with individuals or even AI systems today, the fact of the matter is you just never take your hands off the wheel ultimately. I've seen a number of businesses that have crashed because they brought in a CEO who didn't understand the fundamentals and didn't have that tech founder startup hunger that continues to ride in the owner operator, the entrepreneur, the person who started it and risked it all, maybe put payroll on a credit card and saw the blood, sweat, and tears go into this. You don't find normally that people, even if you give them particular profit sharing positions in the business, they don't always have that same drive. So I think there are things that can be automated. That's why I refer to it as almost automated, because there's nothing that's really truly passive at the end of the day, not 100%. You still have to keep your eyes on it. So I think what people do is they believe at some point they can take their hands off the wheel and the thing completely operate. And that's true to a point. If you can't leave your business for a week and the whole thing crashes, then you have some serious things you should figure out inside of your business. You're still, as that person in charge, going to check in no matter what, just to make sure that things are still going.
So always having that founder touch and making sure that you're the one who's putting the business in the right direction.
It's leadership. I think a lot of people believe that they can buy into a lazy business, lazy marketing. And I joke, call myself the laziest marketer in the world. But at the end of the day, it's really because I've always been pushing, looking for ways to optimize. Now I'm to vibe coding and building out apps I can give to my team members. We look for ways to innovate. And so much of what we do now is using systems like that to manage those physical products.
So it's more about optimizing and making sure that you're in the picture and putting it in the right direction.
It is optimizing. It gets into the management level and the oversight, the fiduciary responsibilities. I think that's where a lot of people misunderstand how long that takes. If you're really dedicated to it, you're into it for 5 or 10 years minimum. And in some instances, you may not get a paycheck from the company for those first 5 years because you're plowing everything back into profits. So you just need to find a way to make your house sustain itself while you're going after that, with the ultimate goal of building something with the end in mind, which is getting paid or even making it a life-changing exit.
I like what you said about being in it for like 5 to 10 years, because I think that helps you have a clear vision and makes you not jump around too much.
Stay focused. It's hard. We have shiny object syndrome and there's new technologies and things to play with. And I find myself guilty of that too. I have 6 different AI subscriptions right now. I need to cut that down because I'm just playing with different tools and geeking out when I have a chance.
So what's the difference between automation and leverage?
I don't necessarily hear those two words differently. Automation is a way to leverage time compression, create force multipliers. An individual that might have taken 2 other people can now be 1 person in a system. So automation can leverage and expand. In our business, we have 23 brands. We have 3 operators. So they are able to operate multiple brands, pipelines, workflows, inbound products, the PPC marketing, the logistics, customer support through the use of tool sets. We can leverage a considerable amount of automation, but it still requires human oversight to make sure that's running. They're like air traffic controllers now, landing ships in port and making sure products go to market and negotiating. They really do act like more of an air traffic controller now.
So how does thinking build to exit change the way you design systems from day one?
It really means that for us, it's a process now. Obviously, we fumbled around how to get it going years ago until we got to the point where we understood what the business process should look like, how an SOP should flow for each of the things, and how they could be repeated and trained into additional operators. It really looks like the opportunity to build growth at scale within a reasonable amount of time frame because of the systems of today, the social media, the algorithms. What it allows us to do in 3 to 5 years is something that used to take 5 to 10 years. And that's quite an amazing event to watch. And I think what happens is people understand that, but they don't realize the process that it takes to get to it. And so they usually try to skip some of the steps. They shortcut some of the work. They think that there's some sort of magical growth hack or something that's going to get them there. When in actuality, it's a lot of planning. It's a lot of failure in the process to learn what we did right and then try to repeat those processes over and over again. So we use similar technologies for every deployment. We have a team, we have a pipeline, we have a work. We even built the software around that workflow so that it combines together with the work. I think what we're seeing here is people in tech startups and people in the business world and people in physical products or wherever is this situation by which you think you can replace everybody with AI, and it's really not true yet. It may come, and it seems like it's coming relatively fast. Building that workflow into the tool set means that SaaS is changing. In fact, what real opportunity people have in the tech startup, the business growth phase, the learning phase, is to understand that fundamentally you need a system and a tool set that work in combination with each other to create that value, because pure SaaS is going away. And so with that, then comes what's the process? What's the business? How do I make it work? How do I deploy capital? What's the smart way to operate it? We built a synergy between the knowledge, the application, the processes, and the tool set that are combined together. They're not separated. We're like a Mac where the operating system and the hardware all came together. And because of that one singular workflow, it creates a unique competitive advantage for us at Voltage, because our Cayman data tool set's built into the workflow. So they are combined together as part of that process. It's not a pure SaaS, because a pure SaaS play is no longer going to be a competitive advantage. It's just going away.
So you would say possibly the human touch, right?
It has to
That
be high human touch.
competitive
Yeah, it's a great way of saying it.
advantage.
The competitive
I see.
advantage is getting in and making sure the customers know and trust you, that they can't just be sold on the pure aspect of the SaaS product anymore. There's cutting edge, leading edge, then there's
Yeah.
adoption curve, and then there's mass adoption. We are very much in the leading edge of that curve where people are starting to catch on fast. And as that wave continues to grow into that adoption curve, those who are leading it right now will be the ones that ultimately settle out the competition as mass market adoption occurs. As we are talking to this, and maybe tech founders are listening to this, you feel like you are in a mass market situation, but by no means are we in a mass market situation yet. With AI, you can ask 100 people on the street what AI can do for them, and they don't really have a clue yet. It's going to affect the systems behind the systems until it hits mass marketing, and we're not there yet. So the real opportunity right now is to figure out how to mobilize, be agile, and figure out where that audience is that you can serve, and then what tool sets you can provide to them to serve that outcome, not the other way around, not the tool set that serves the outcome. It's a backwards process now. It's all changed in the last couple of years, and those who are not paying attention to it will get rolled over by it.
So if a founder wants a business that can truly run without them, what are the first 3 systems that matter?
Once you get through the process of figuring out what they're going to sell, the next thing you need to do is manage your time wisely. So the first thing you want to get is someone who helps you manage your time. So you go find a virtual assistant, or you look at a system that you could build that helps you manage and schedule your time properly. Time management is the biggest killer of opportunity. It's the opportunity to plan your time and time block correctly for activities and action items that get completed. I'll time block things into 15 to 30 minutes. If I can't complete it in that action, I move to another action, and then I come back to that one. I rotate through the day through different time blocks to accomplish certain things. So by the time I get to the end of the day, I feel like I have accomplished something. If you're getting to the end of the day and you feel like you're accomplishing nothing, it's usually a time management priority problem, and that's the first thing you need to solve. Get control of your time and your calendar, okay? The second thing you need is email workflow and assistance. Email and SMS can overtake your life with so much communications. You got to shut that thing down and you got to let it go. Some way to manage or look at that now with Gemini and Gmail or other tool sets to analyze your inbox and create priority summaries that just tell you what are the highlights that I'm missing, what are the priorities that I'm missing, and then have it tell you what you should be focused on. Primary, secondary, tertiary tasks. The third thing is to step out of the social media construct, step out of the idea that you're behind, and stop feeling like there's such a sense of urgency that you're in a panic that everything has to be done now. There is opportunity. We are still not in that mass market. From a tool set perspective, it's a little different. What we're talking about is process and people here. Technology enables people. It does not necessarily replace all people. Technology still enables people. You need to figure out what that means to you, your business, your processes, and what customer you're going to serve, how you're going to reach them effectively, and once you've got them, how you're going to keep them for the long term, what value you're going to add. That's a third thing you need to be thinking about as you launch and go to market. How long can I keep this person? What's my customer lifetime value going to be? Do whatever it takes to make sure that they're supported for as long as possible. Get those 3 things right at the beginning. Create that irresistible offer, as Alex Hormozi calls it.
Yeah.
And they will stay with you for a long time. The tribe will grow longer, you'll stay in business longer too, and you make more money doing it.
So where do you see founders accidentally building a job instead of a business?
Usually when they feel like they know all of it and they can't pause long enough to teach someone else how to do it. They think they need to find an A+ player to replace them instead of looking for a great B player who wants to get in the game and then spend time making them into an A player. I think what tech founders do is they think that they can just go hire somebody at the A player level. And as we mentioned earlier, founders do not operate the same way as hires. So that really never happens. Your best opportunity is to get a really sharp C player who wants to be a B player, work on training them one-on-one or daily or through efforts of building them up, working with them personally, whatever it takes to train them up to that B player, giving them an opportunity to become an A player. I think that's what a lot of founders miss is where's that raw talent that I can train and then spend the time training them. They feel like they don't have time to do it. One can't do it as good as them. And so they end up being the only one operating the business, and that turns into a job.
So just spend that time training someone who's a B player rather than trying to look for someone exactly like you.
They feel if I can make enough money, I can hire an A player and then they'll do everything for me, right? It's a common mistake. Path of that success is to find the ones that are willing to dig in, find the ones that show up, find the ones that are putting in the effort, and then pour your time, energy, and attention into them.
So you talk about your 5 game plan. Can you walk us through it?
Yeah. So the 5x5, what we call the product launch process, the playbook, really is something that we've developed over the last 13 years of building brands to personal brands to over 20 million a year. We got client brands that do over 50 million a year under management. With that strategy, we've developed a playbook that goes into the marketplace, looks at the data and looks to see where there are gaps in the data for high demand, high profitability products. And we put those products into what we call our 5x5 playbook. That is launching 5 products into the market to test it on low-MOQ. We do a lot of work to determine whether the market test will create a mass adoption for that product. And so we'll launch 100 to 500 units of that product with the specific intent of seeing if it'll fail or if it actually proves itself in the market. Not that we can go and get 5,000 of them or whatever, but we're going to go get 5 of those products with 100 units to 500 units. We're going to put them in the market because we're not necessarily smart enough to tell the market what it wants. Everybody thinks we're not. But we can read the data. And so the data tells us here's a high demand, high profitability product. It looks like it has a competitive opportunity to move into the top 3 positions relatively easy. And we go into that market and we test out. Is it true? Does it look better as it goes through the market test, or does it look worse? Do we pull some levers on marketing, PPC, conversions to see if it looks better? If it does, we continue to work with it. If it continues to grow and sell through the inventory we've purchased, we'll order the next 1,000 units and we'll do a full product launch, but it only goes to the products that rise to the top. The goal is to get those 5 products to sell 25 units a day at a minimum of net profit $12 per unit or greater. At that point, we know that between $300 to $1,000 a day in profit is a provable market that has growth and scale opportunity within it. And then that 5x5 product process from market test to product launch tells me exactly where to go into that market, follow the good data, good money after good product, good data, and then work that process because it's in demand now for my business, my products. You do that correctly and things take off extremely well. If they don't, then we don't marry the product. We let the remaining units sell through. We let the product go. We don't marry it. And then we let it die off. That's it. Okay. It didn't work. We go to the next product. Why? Because there's millions of product opportunities. And when you have the right data and the right workflow, it makes it easy to pick those products and test them. We build an entire brand around it and we see what happens.
So what kind of products do you work with the most?
What kind of products do I work with the most? We're going towards the home and kitchen niche as an overall brand. We have stuff all over the place, but a lot of our brands have been focusing in the last few years down there. We've got a repeatable success in multiple brands there, from kitchen, home goods supplies to ice cream makers to linens to all kinds of stuff that we sell within the home and kitchen space. So I'd have to say we're niching into that based on our knowledge of it, our repeated success within it, and our understanding of the pipeline of products that are successful that we can launch that we just haven't got to yet. So we're continuing to build on that, knowing that growth and scale is a possibility. For me, what does growth and scale look like? We've got a client business, for example, that just sold for 29 million after 5 years. So when we talk about growth and scale, numbers that start off at 1,000 a day are just telling us where the real data is, where the real market share and opportunity and growth is. So we look at the bigger picture, and that 5x5 is a roadmap that then takes us from those 5 products into the 1 or 2 products that really start to take off for that brand. And then the pipeline opens up to 10 to 100 SKUs so that we can continue to go through that pipeline. And through capitalization, conversions, and PPC management, we can grow those things up into 20, 50, 100 SKUs and very quickly ramp that up in that product pipeline. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question correctly, but yeah, it's a different way of looking at the business than I see a lot of people. And I don't trust any of the tool sets that are out there except the ones that I built. My data is backed by Amazon. It comes from Amazon. And so when I cross it with my playbook and what we call our green light methodology, it literally tells me which products are green in the data because I'm selling data to AI engines now. It sells products to people. So my customer is AI engines now, not the customer who receives the product.
I see. So you're more of a data-driven person rather than,
very much.
rather than this is a product that you're
Kind of
passionate about, but you're like, okay, the
do.
data's here. I'm passionate about the data.
When I say don't marry the products, it means I literally won't marry them until past 1,000 units. They actually prove they're going to grow, be sustainable, have great sales, get good reviews, are a great product for the market. Then I'm going to look at potentially marrying that product. We're in the dating phase. And I think a lot of people get married to everything too fast, and they're not patient enough to let the data do what it's going to do. We have become a very data analytic driven business. No emotions into which products types we get, not even into the way we choose the brand, colors, the way we look at the layouts. That's not a really emotional thing either. That's a controlled thing relative to the market, relative to the expectation of the person who's going to be buying the product. And then really at the end of the day, we have structured data files that we send to these platforms. And that basically is like a giant AI prompt. And when we give that prompt to the engines, it builds a picture of that product. And then it does an audience intersect with who in the platform is already demanding that product. And how does this product intersect data-wise with the customers who are buying the other products? And then that's how we win. Better structured data that prompts a better outcome. And with a better outcome, we can sell the product. The question then becomes, do we end up with a great product, or do we have to maybe restart because the product turned out to be not that great? We grab another product because I already proved I can sell it. So now I go get another version of the product and I make sure it's even better, and then I innovate it, and then I take it to market and I get a scalable asset.
So not getting attached to what you're building and making sure you're building upon data.
I'm attached to the business.
Yeah.
But I'm not attached to the product. You understand the difference?
I see. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm willing to sell to the audience what the audience is willing and already to buy in demand on demand creation platforms. Everything out there from social media to TikTok Shop to Amazon, these are all demand creation. When I go to those marketplaces, they tell me what the market is in demand for, and then I give an option. If they prefer my option, I give them more of it. So I can sell anything to anybody in 30 seconds or less. It really just gets down to, is it the profitable product? So it has to work in the numbers. We got to go by the numbers, right? Our products are typically $50 to $500 in retail price point. So we have much higher profit margins, which allow us to pay ourselves, pay employees, pay for marketing, pay for new inventory, pay for all the things that make the engine run, and still have something left over at the end of the day. And if you're selling a sub $50 product, that's really hard to do now, unless you can really do it on mass volume.
So if someone only has about 10 hours a week, where should those hours go?
You're assuming that the 10 hours is other than their regular work life?
Yeah. Maybe they have a full-time
10 hours
job.
Above and beyond normal scheduling?
Yeah.
Does that include family time?
The 10 hours does not include family time.
Then 10 hours should be spent on your family. 10 hours should be spent on the things that actually matter. Right. Even all other time, people want to hear that it either takes an hour a week to make 7 figures, or that you spent 80 hours or 100 hours a week slaving through the process to make 7 figures. They want the extremes. They don't want the balance. They want to know that it's really difficult. Therefore, not everybody could do it. So therefore, I have a reason for not trying. And the other half is it doesn't take all that much time, and you'd make it look really easy, and you can do all that in an hour a week. And that's because you're privileged or blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants the balance anymore. And that's frustrating. The balance is it takes time, energy, attention, and money. Those things in the correct order. So you're in the right time on the right activities. Otherwise, you're just masking activities with productivities, looking very important and maybe pushing it out to social media so you feel better about what you're doing. But in the end, you're not spending your time where it's most purposeful. So if you have time to spend on things that strengthen your mind, strengthen your character, strengthen your faith, strengthen your purpose and value, do those things first. Because then when you sit down to actually do the work, you'll prioritize correctly the things that you actually need to do. You will get done the things that are most important to the business, and sales fixes everything. So if you're going to work the time on the business, your number one priority is selling the business.
Definitely. So making sure your first priority is yourself and your values and your family. And then your second priority for your business is sales.
Yeah. Why? Because I've got friends, I've got examples, I've got people who came on my podcast that told stories about friends and connections and themselves who ended up with lots of money, really lonely, broken, divorced, and no relationship with their children. I don't want that outcome for anybody listening to this, right?
Of course.
You never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. There's a reason for that, okay? You're not going to take it. Those who die with the most don't win in the end. Okay. The long story of it is we're out here trying to hustle and do what we need to do, pay for our families, build businesses, have fun, enjoy what we do. Do not forget that the purpose and value equal the profits, and the profits are not always financial. It's just one component of profit. Profit is time. Profit is relationship. I'm profiting from this conversation with you today, and I hope others are as well. Spending time with each other is profiting. Helping other people is profiting themselves and society, giving more, right? These are things that are important to profit, and they don't come without purpose and value. And the financial profit reward will come when you put those
Yeah.
things ahead of just a pure profit attempt.
So what makes a business sellable versus just doing well?
On the financial side, you have to have a profit. So to make it a saleable asset, it has to have a decent profit, which gives it a decent multiple of EBITDA, or it gives decent SDE, which is seller discretionary earnings. The systems, the processes, the people, and technology are going to be the components by which you look at that business as business buyers, and acquired a couple of companies last year. The things we look in purchasing side were how was it ran? How difficult was it being ran? Where are the opportunities to optimize what the current management structure look like, and where are the other channels or business opportunities we could bring to the table to impact it positively in the next year after we took control of it. If we couldn't answer those things, if it was too difficult, if it looked disheveled, if it looked like there was no processes and no operational controls, if there weren't the right kind of people in the right seats in the bus, as Good to Great says, Jim Collins, great book. The end result is we were buying a job, we were buying a problem, we were buying a plane with an engine on fire on its way down. So what you need to understand is if your business feels that way to you, then it is not a saleable asset yet. When your business starts to feel comfortable to you, then it's most likely something you can sell. Then the question becomes, is it in a fiduciary or a financial component of the business in a place where it can be sellable to a degree by which you would actually walk away with money, maybe life-changing generational money, but certainly money nonetheless? Or are you just selling something that you're going to end up clearing out debt and everything else and be left with a few dollars at the end of the day? People sell businesses for a variety of reasons, but most of the time they're selling it with a plane and the engine on fire on the way down. And to get to two businesses we acquired last year, we talked to more than 450 companies to find those two businesses. So you're going to find that most people don't have their house in order. They're going to usually have the business in a position where it's not in a sellable state. It's running too high on inventory cost or PPC. It's running too high on management cost. It's running at a deficit. Debt to income ratio is overloaded. There's no systems and processes. The owner is doing everything and barely hanging on. There's a number of things that are not strong. Businesses need to put themselves in a position to become an attractive sale. I don't mean lipstick on a pig or repaint the jalopy so it looks nice when there's no engine in it. You need to actually do the things that make it a saleable asset. If you start doing that from the beginning, it gets a lot easier. 3 years, it becomes a lot more difficult when it comes to purchasing a company. If I don't see a clean set of books and it comes from a third party, I'm going to question whether or not you know what you're doing.
So what would a founder have to do on day one to ensure their business is sellable?
Day one, begin with the end in mind. What is this business ultimately going to look like when I sell it? How do I want it to be run? How much money do I want it to be making? And then I say, okay, that's my game plan. And then I walk away from it because that's the macro view of what you need to do. That means an LLC, that means formation, bookkeeping, accounting, straight records, building the trademarks, the IP, and the intellectual property, and doing all that footwork up front, not later, to protect and identify, separate personal finances from business finances, framework in place to go to business on. Once you have an idea, once you're generating some capital, once you get that thing off the ground, you start generating some money, that is your next biggest step. If you haven't done it, that's your step for today. If you are in an idea phase, it's not yet time to do that. Figure out what to sell. Sales fixes everything. Generate some revenue. Get moving. Do something imperfectly, but get it going. And then as soon as you get it going, as soon as you start taking on money, as soon as you start generating revenue with your idea, get your house in order. That's your next fastest step. Separate it from personal, from professional. Do the right things required from a business. Then you can plan your taxes correctly. You can plan your income and profit and loss statements. You can understand how the business cash flow is running. You can see things for what they actually are. You can get help from professionals, tax people, accountants, and bookkeepers that you should not be managing unless you are a CPA. And you should get the right people in place to help you do that. It is worth the cost of doing that to grow a business once you start generating the revenue.
I think this is a great point to finish off the podcast on. Thank you so much, Neil, for coming and for sharing all of your insights.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's been an honor.
You can read more founder stories like this at techforfounder.com.